Hi everybody. I'm gonna see if I can find myself on YouTube here. All right. There we go. All right. Okay, I see some people popping on. Hi Jean, how you doing? Hope you, words are hard today. I hope you're doing well. Hi Pat, nice to see you. All right, I'm just gonna wait for some people to join. I'm kind of deciding if I wanna go, what we're gonna do is a Frosty card today. And we're gonna do like a peek through card, but we're also adding in another stamp set. So I'm gonna show you the two stamp sets that we're using. So there are these two, Press On and Don't Stop Believin', because one of you all requested me to use the melted snowman. So we're gonna do that today. So I have a really fun idea. I'm hoping it's gonna turn out the way I think it's gonna turn out. So we'll see. So I'm just kind of deciding what color I wanna use. I'm torn between using Balmy Blue or Seaside. So Seaside is a little bit of a softer blue, and I kind of want to go for like a winter card. So we have Seaside, which is a nice blue. I feel like I might want to use that over Balmy Blue. But you could also use purple would look nice. Misty Moonlight would be a little bit dark in my opinion. Let me grab my Balmy Blue. Balmy Blue is kind of a nice, it's a bright blue. So that's another really nice bright blue. I think I'm going to go with Balmy just because it's a little bit brighter of a blue. So we'll just wait for a few people to join. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for joining. I had a great week, Diana. Thank you for asking. I hope you had a great week as well. Sorry I'm on a little bit later today. I know sometimes when you're not consistent with time, but we had soccer today at 10. So it kind of threw everything off. And as a matter of fact, next week soccer is at 9. So I probably will go on closer to 11 next week, but I'll let you know for sure. So the stamps that we're using, in case you are not familiar, and all the products I should say, are Stampin' Up. Yes, they are still undefeated. So they're very, very excited. They won today, I think either 2-1 or 3-1. They're undefeated. Last week they beat the undefeated team, so they were really excited about that. So now they're the only undefeated team. So that's pretty amazing. And the Rainbow Stamper thinks it's all due to him playing, which is hilarious because he does try his best, but it's kind of like watching yourself play sports, because I am not really very athletically inclined. I will try anything, but it doesn't always look pretty, and that's kind of how he plays too. So what we're doing today, we're using this, in case you're new, and maybe you've never seen this channel before, we're using all Stampin' Up products. So this is the holiday winter catalog. This runs from August to January 4th. And today we're using the Don't Stop Believin', which is here. And then we're also using, this one is a really fun one too. I really hope this one carries over because it's a great stamp set. And I think the way I'm going to work it, I'm hoping it's going to go very well together. We're going to use Press On, which is like a coffee, hot cocoa, could be tea, could be any beverage of choice, hot toddies, cider, you know, whatever it is you want to do. But it's got some great stuff in it, so that's what I'm going for today. So if you don't have a Stampin' Up demonstrator and you would like a free catalog, all you have to do is send me your full mailing address to rachthestamper@gmail.com. Make sure you include your zip code. I can only send them to people who are in the United States, so we're not allowed to sell out of the country. And if you already have a Stampin' Up demonstrator, they, I'm sure, will be happy to give you a catalog. But I will mail one out to you. We also have a big annual catalog, which is going to run this year. Is a little bit shorter. I think it runs to the end of April. Usually they run to May, but we're kind of in a transition year, so I feel like this one runs till April. Can't find it quickly, so I'm not gonna make it too long, but just in case you missed it the other day, I'm gonna share a couple cards. We made these live on Facebook. Little witch card, which is really cute. And then the Tooth Fairy card, I ended up adding that little stamp And that is actually, I wanted to show that to you. That's from Posted For You. And since it says special delivery, I thought it would be really cool. So what I did is I cut out a second little tooth and made this into a tooth fairy card. So if you missed it, that is the other one. And then I posted this onto my blogs in case you missed it. That's the Valentine's version. I'm not going to show it to you here, so you can go check that out at rachthestamper.com. So what we're going to be using today are layering circle dies. Again, this is if all goes as planned, because you know I have a plan, but hopefully it works for most of the time. You are going to need a little piece of window sheet, and we're actually going to stamp on this part first because we're going to let it dry, but we're going to color on the inside of it, so it's going to turn out. So hopefully that makes sense when we do it. We're also going to need a piece of Whisper White for the inside, so just a regular 4 by 5 1/4 panel. And then I think adding to the inside, because I'm trying to make it, when you see what I have in my mind, which hopefully it'll turn out, I'm making it so the inside is colder than the outside, if that makes sense. So I'm going to use some of the, I believe it's Snowflake Splendor Designer Series paper. Hi Karen, thanks for joining. You didn't miss anything yet. So I think, I'm not sure which one, if I want to use like a flurry, like a snowstorm on the inside, which I think would be kind of cute, or just a very muted one. These are really, it has some really nice backgrounds, some very nice watercolory backgrounds. So I think I might use the snowflakes because I think that's what I want to go for. So we're going to get started. I'm just going to put this on the side. So once I flip you down, I'm going to plug in the microphone. So that'll take just a second for everything to get adjusted. So let me just move these so I don't lose anything, because sometimes the window sheet gets lost when you lay it down since it's clear. Put all this right here. Okay, so I'm going to flip you around and I'm going to put you down. So if you get disturbed by motion changes, just look away for a minute. I'll tell you when we're all situated. Okay, let me move this stand out of the way. And pop in my microphone. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me, specifically with this microphone also because the washing machine is on. So, all right, here we go. Sorry. Comes in. If for any reason, please let me know, because I am watching my iPad. Let me make this bigger and swipe over so I can see. June 3rd to May 3rd. Thank you, Jean. That was very helpful of you to share that. I appreciate it. I know it ended a little bit earlier this year. May 3rd, because usually it runs till June 3rd, but they're changing the catalogs around, so it's kind of making everything just a little bit delayed in how they're working it. So just as a FYI, not that there's anything that you have to do, but just so you know. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to stamp our Frosty, or our used to be Frosty. We're going to stamp him, and it doesn't really matter what you use, because I actually made this card a little while ago and I kind of got myself confused because I was trying to color and I was trying to do it without alcohol, or with alcohol markers, without alcohol markers. And really, honestly, what I should have done is I should have done this from the start, is stamped it on one side and colored on the other. So it took me a few days to figure that out. So you can either use Memento or you can use Stays On. It doesn't really make a difference, but we're actually going to stamp him on one side and then color on the other. So that's why I say you can use either. So I'm going to kind of try to keep him just a little bit off of the edge here, just so when I fit him in, he should fit in, hopefully, pretty simply. The one thing you have to be careful, and the reason why I'm taking my time when I tell you this, is when you stamp on window sheet, your images, so if you just stamp on here with rubber, it stays still, but once this is wet, it does tend to move a little bit. So you want to make sure that when you ink up your stamp and you stamp onto window sheet, that you're very intentional with putting it where you want it and not touching it, because it will smudge easily, okay? So I'm just going to ink up Snowman, and I'm going to try to keep him straight, that way I can put him in. I'm going to put it down, and I am pressing, but I'm trying not to move it. So that looks pretty good. He probably could be a little bit darker, But I'm going to show you what I mean. So, for example, if you were to come over here and you were to stamp this down and you're not paying attention, see, is really, so he can completely be blurry. So try to make sure that when you stamp, you really stamp it like you mean it. Now, with this ink, you should be able to, and you probably would need some alcohol, but you probably can, oh, it'll just come right off. You could probably rub it off if you goof it up, but you're going to need to do it before it dries. The other thing you could use instead, so that was Memento, if you want to make sure that it definitely does not smudge under any circumstances. However, you really have to be careful because you can't remove this. This one might be the one you can't remove with alcohol, is StazOn. So I'll just show you once again. So you would stamp, because StazOn will not come off, which makes it really nice if you're using like a craft or you're stamping onto candles or other kind of crazy images like that. So there he is there. And this is the other one. So I'm going to set this aside because it does need to dry a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to work on the rest of our card in the meantime. I'm going to keep out the Memento because I might use it for the sentiment. I'm not 100% decided yet. Oh my goodness, and guess what I just realized? So I didn't wet my chamois, and I also cleaned my Stampin' Scrub the other day, and it was downstairs hanging to dry, and I forgot to bring it up. Oh well. Woe is me. That's life. You're going to have to get over it, Rach. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use both of these. And I'm going to show you, because we did this the other day on Facebook, but I don't want to just share things on Facebook. So I'm going to show you guys as well. This is a really easy way to mount your stamps if you've been having trouble. And oh, somebody's going to tell me. I know somebody's going to remember for me. Oh, what was her name? It was Bev Designs, I believe it was. Oh, I might be completely wrong butchering that, but it was an Australian lady, and she shared this on her, she shared it on her blog, or maybe she did a video with it. But you can take these middles out. You don't really need them because you're really just stamping the outline. But she shared a really simple way how to mount your stamps on the sticker so they match up exactly. So I'm going to share it with you. So you're just going to peel off your sticker and then try to make sure it doesn't stick to your finger. And then you're going to pick it up with your block like so. Then I'm going to pull off the release paper. And I guess you don't really need that middle piece there, so you probably could have removed it, but I didn't. I forgot. That'll probably stay on the block. I'll just have to peel it off. So you have your sticker. Then what you're going to do is flip over your stamp, and you're going to press it. You're going to line it up because you can see exactly where you want it to go. You're going to press it just like so. And then you'll pull off your stamp. I'm just going to push this through with my finger because we don't need that. Now you could use this for something else really quickly if you wanted to, but now you have perfectly lined up your image with your stamp. Now, one other thing I do is I usually take a little bit of the sticky off because sometimes they're almost too sticky. So there's one. So I'm going to show you the same thing again. I'm just going to pull off because we're going to use both of these. I'm going to just put this down, pick it up with my block, take off the release paper. I was so happy the other day. My fingernails are almost long enough to paint, so it means I can pick things up again. So there is your image. So you're going to put your rubber part down. Going to just line this up the best you can, but it's pretty easy to see because it's clear, and then just press. And then we're going to pull this off. And this one actually did stay. The little sticky piece stayed on here. So, but you could use these over too if you want to retro mount your stamp. So that's another idea. But then you have, you have this all mounted. It's lined up perfectly. Again, I just take a little bit of the stick off. So just so you know, makes it super, super easy to get your stickers on and get it properly lined up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my paper out, and then we're going to stamp. We're going to trim all of this up at the same time. And I think I want to make a vertical card. So what I'm going to do, there's a little debris there. is I'm going to score this first at 5.5. Okay. So in case you didn't know, the light blade is the scoring blade on the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, and the dark blade is the cutting blade, okay? They are usually in the opposite order, but I changed mine around because I like the scoring at the top. So I'm going to score this at 5.5, and then I'm going to rotate it, and then I'm going to line this up at 4.25. So right here is 4.25, and then I'm going to cut it. So then we have 2 bases. They're already scored and ready to go, so there's one. And put this on the side. I'm going to make sure my inside paper is trimmed. I want this to be 4 by 5.25. Four by 5.25. And I'm also going to do the same for this piece of flurry here. So I want this to be, once again, 4. And this paper is 12 by 12. I just cut it into 6 by 6 because it makes it a little easier to manage. So 4 by 5.25. And we can even save this other little piece here, and we could use this for something here on this side when we stamp. So I'm going to use the little piece we trimmed off, okay? So that should be all of our cutting, hopefully. Sorry about the camera there. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to stamp the front of this. This is going to be inside here just basically to cover up our piece of window sheet so you can't see it. And then this is going to be on the inside to kind of help that window sheet stand out against it. So I hope this makes sense. I know it looks a little bit crazy, but what we're going to do is we're going to begin by stamping. So I still have this. I want to make sure that's nice and dry. So I have my coffee cups. Now you could do this a couple different ways. You could do it in black. You could do it with a darker color. We could even do it with like a misty moonlight. If you wanted tone on tone, you could do balmy blue. I feel like Pacific Point would be a little bit too like bright and poppy, and you could even do it in navy if you wanted something that would stick out a little bit. So I think I'm going to do navy just for something different to make the coffee cup stand out. The other thing you could even do is you could do some of them in Versamark and some in navy. So let's do that just to make it so it's different. So we'll do some of them in Versamark. We'll do the smaller cup in Versamark, and then we'll do the larger cup in Night of Navy. And what I am going to do is I'm going to reinforce the fold here. Okay. And then I'm going to grab just a little piece of scrap paper so if I stamp off it doesn't get in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm inking up my stamp. And I'm actually, now that I think of it, I'm going to do the bigger stamp first because sometimes I'll do the smaller one and there's not enough room. So we have our coffee cup or hot cocoa in this case. I'm going to just stamp it. Just going to turn my paper. Put one up top here. Okay, I'm going to just do those 3 for now. And then we'll do a couple in Versamark. You could even do this Versamark and then add some embossing powder so that way it kind of stood up a little bit more. Really just depends on what you want to do. I'm going to add one little partially one over here and maybe just like the handle over here. So that looks pretty good. Now before I 100% finish, so I'm going to close up my Versamark, I just want to see if there's anything else that would be cute. Even just the heart, we're going to do that. And I'm going to do it in a different ink. So let's see, we did that in navy. How about we'll do the heart in balmy blue just to bring something in that color. So I have my balmy blue. Put these over here, see if I can find a little block. Okay, so there's my heart. Now, mind you, we are going to be cutting this out in one spot. So not all of these things are going to stay on here where they are. Maybe one more little piece over here. And the nice part about doing it in the different inks is you can overlap them and it's not really it's not overkill necessarily. And I think now that I'm taking a better look at it, I think instead of using the Memento, I think I'm actually going to stick with the navy for the sentiment, okay? So here's what we're going to do now. And I'm going to bring this over. Let's see if I can have a part that's a little bit cleaner. Bring this over so you can see what I'm doing. So we have our window sheet piece here. And I'm just going to grab my snips and kind of cut it out. Doesn't really need to be specifically even, but I do want to make sure that it's dry. So I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to lay it down just so it stays where I have it. And I'm going to tape it that way. If for some reason that black ink could still be wet, I just want it to stay just where it is, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to color. And I think I'm going to bring in the dark Seaside Spray and the dark Balmy Blue for our puddle, just because we kind of want to accentuate it. So I'm going to bring in, yeah, it's not really quite dark enough. Actually, this one's not even. So let me go with the dark Balmy Blue. Sometimes these colors show up a lot lighter than what you think they're going to. Yeah, this is even still pretty light. That's the dark Balmy Blue. Let me go with light Night of Navy. So I don't want it super dark, but I at least want it to have some color so it kind of looks like the puddle. Okay, so just so you can see, I'll bring that up. So it took me to get to the Night of Navy for this to show up, just because it's window sheet and it's these two colors are very light. So I'm going to just go around the edge. So it kind of looks like a frosty puddle. Gonna hit those little accent lines. Okay, so again, that was light Night of Navy is what I ended up using. And then I'm going to bring dark Pumpkin Pie, and I'm going to do bullet tip so I can stay in the nose a little better. And remember, we're not touching the ink from the other side, so it's not going to smudge anything because we're doing it on the opposite side. And I'm actually going to add just a little bit of dark Cajun Craze just to make it a teeny bit darker. That's good. And what do we have here? My shaded spruce. Yep, I'm going to do dark shaded spruce for that little holly leaf. Like so. So there was that one. And dark cherry cobbler for the berries. And I'm actually going to make the little ribbon, the satin ribbon, I'm going to make that the same. So that was dark cherry cobbler. Then what else do I want to do? Maybe do bronze. You probably could do bronze or maybe even dark cinnamon cider for the twigs. Yeah, bronze is not quite dark enough. Let me see if the cinnamon cider looks any darker. You just kind of have to experiment with this because you're doing it a little bit opposite of what you normally would. Yeah. So dark cinnamon cider. And remember, one thing is once these dry, you can add more layers of color if you want it a little bit darker. You just kind of have to wait for the alcohol to evaporate and just be a little bit careful since you're doing this on window sheet. Oh, and you know what? I want to put some cocoa here. Put a little bit in the cocoa. Okay. And make our cocoa mug. What if we do dark poppy parade for that? Okay. There's that. And I'm actually going to bring out, surprisingly enough, the black. I'm going to start with the light basic black. And I'm going to see if that's dark enough. It might be perfect. I'm just doing the coal pieces, so his eyes. Okay, and then I want to see what the hat looks like. Actually, the light is pretty good. Okay, so I have the hat and the eyes I did with the light basic black. And I think I'm going to bring a little bit of dark on the top, whoopsie, on the top of the hat. So this is dark basic black up here. And it's funny because you're so used to not going outside the lines that I'm really trying carefully, and it doesn't matter because we're on the opposite side of the paper. But, okay, I think that looks pretty good. Just like it is. So I'm going to show you. You should be able to see this a little bit better. Oop, and look, see, I'm really glad that I was careful with it because it wasn't exactly 100% dry. So you can see that there. So if you wanted to make sure that this snowman was really, really dark, one other thing you could do is you could do it with your Stamparatus, and you could stamp it a couple different times. But you can see there we have the color. Looks really good. I think I'm going to add just a teeny bit more, and I'm just going to do my best to line this up. Oops, like that. I want to add just a little bit more of that dark Night of Navy. Oh, it was light Night of Navy. Just right here, I just missed a little spot, shading, and a little bit under the hat. Just for a little bit more of a realistic look. Okay, let me move these out of the way. All right, so here comes the part where hopefully I make this work the way I want it to work. I'm going to set him on the side, and I'm going to grab this because I'm going to put this on the inside. So normally you're not really advised to punch through two things at the same time, but I'm going to die cut, so I think it's going to be okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a little piece of adhesive on my Stampin' Seal, with my Stampin' Seal here. And let's see if I want this going. We're going to have it going. We'll have it going light to dark. So I'm just putting this just to kind of hold it in place so I can make sure that since I'm taping it from the other side with the die, it just kind of stays where I want. So I just have a little piece of adhesive right here. So this is the inside of the card, okay? And actually, now that I'm looking at it, it's not exactly lined up. Let me move it just a little. Okay, I think that looks good. So there's that. Then what I want to do is I'm going to pull out a layering circle. So it doesn't need to be a huge circle because this stamp isn't humongous. So even that could be, it could be a little smaller. Let's see. That one's good enough. So I am using the 1, 2, 3, 4th largest layering circle. So what I'm going to do, just move this out of the way, and I move him over, is I'm going to put this so it die cuts from the front here. Okay, so this is kind of where I'm shooting for. Let me grab a piece of purple tape so it keeps in place. And just going to put this here. So I want this to die cut through this one and here so we can kind of make a peek through. This one is just going to cover up when we put our window sheet down. Okay, so let me make sure that I don't have too much. I just want to make sure I don't have too much loose edge because I can always trim it. That should be pretty good. I think we should be okay with that. All right, so I'm going to set him on the side. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine open like this because I want the circle to come out of the base and the inside piece that's going to be just a layer piece. Just checking this now because I feel like it moved just ever so slightly. I might just tape this right in place. All right, so I'm going to run this through the die cutting machine and cut out this circle. So I will cut it and then I'll bring it over so you can see what I mean. Okay, bring this whole thing over. So what I did is I ran this through long ways. So this is the back flap, so just so you could see what I was talking about. So here we have this. So when we pull this off, it's going to make a hole. Should have gone through both. Yep. So let me pull this piece of tape off. I don't normally run the tape through both sides because I don't want it to stick, but I was afraid that inner piece was going to move a little bit. So here's what we're going to do. Pull this one off gently. And before we finish, I might actually add some of those little steam lines to this. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but I think it'll be cute. We could save these. We could use this for something else. I don't really know what, but we'll put those on the side. And then I'm going to pull this off. Okay, that one's sticking, so I'm going to throw that away. If you ever notice that paper sticks to your purple tape or whatever repositionable tape, if paper sticks to it, chuck it, because you probably kind of have hit your end with it. And this one really made this stick because we ran it through. So I'm going to pull that apart very gently. Just take this sticky off so I know where it lines up. So we have that piece. And we have this piece. So what we have to do first is we have to adhere this on here so it fits just perfectly. So just to be on the safe side, I want to use a really, really good adhesive. So I'm going to use tear and tape for the most part around the whole thing. Just going to put, it's not a shaker, so it doesn't really need to be good enough that it's going to hold stuff like that, but I just want to make sure it doesn't move. But also I don't want it too close that it's seen. So I'm just using just little pieces. And I actually am going to pull out just because I have another one. So this is tear and tape Stampin' Up makes. This is another brand of double stick tape. You can find it on Amazon. I will add a link. This is really, really thin. It's made by Sukwang. So this is just easy enough that I don't want the adhesive to show through. So that's why I'm using that little piece there. Okay, so I'm going to just push all this down so I can remove my release paper easier. And then we might have to do a teeny bit of trimming with our window sheet, but we'll see. And the last one. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, so you can do this one of two ways. If you have a silicone mat, you can set this down. That way you can set, you can make sure you can pick it up. You're not going to move it. I'm going to put this down again. So the alcohol, or I'm sorry, the Stampin' Blends were on this side and the stamp was on that side, just in case you came in late and you missed it. So I'm going to sit him down. The Stampin' Blend should definitely be dry at this point. And I'm going to put him right about here to line it up. And I can see there's a little piece of window sheet over here I'm going to have to trim. I'm just pressing this. Okay, so we have that. So I have this little piece. I'm just going to grab my snips and actually, you know what? I'm going to trim a little bit underneath because we're going to have that layer there. So I kind of just want to make sure it comes all the way that it's hidden. Probably could have done this ahead of time and trimmed it down a little, but when you make things as you go, you kind of have to adapt as you move along. That looks pretty good. All right, so I'm just going to give that another press just to make sure it looks good. Okay, now I'm going to add this piece to cover up. So basically it's just covering up this unattractive window sheet here. However, I want to make sure that it sticks really well because of the window sheet and also just with lining this up very precisely. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put liquid glue on here. That way in case I need to move it a little bit, I can. Just making sure I get all the way around the circle and then kind of just filling in a little bit. And you could do this on the other layer instead, but sometimes I feel like I go a little bit too far to the edges. So I've tried not to do that. So then I'm going to just take this, flip it over, and just do my very best to aim for the circle part, because if I get the circle lined up, everything else should be pretty even from when we die cut it. Okay, so again, we have a little teeny piece of the window sheet sticking out over here, but unless you're looking for it, you probably wouldn't notice. I'm just pushing, there's a little glue came out. I think I got a little bit of, I think I knocked a little bit of this off. Yeah, I'm gonna bring this back in because I had a wet glue finger. So I'm gonna bring my blends back in just to bring that over here. There we go. Okay, now the final thing that we want to do, and I know I said I was going to stamp the other thing on there and I forgot. The final thing we want to do is we want to add this white panel because it's going to make it easier for you to see him melted there. So I'm going to add this on the inside, but I want to add this little strip. I have this little teeny strip of something. We can add this up to the top. You don't want to cover at the bottom, and you want to write whatever you're going to do with your sentiment. You kind of want to keep it up here. So I'm going to add a little adhesive here and kind of put this up top. My son is outside barking like a chicken. So that's just decorative. And you could leave this off if you want to. It's up to you. We're going to put this in here like that. That way when you close this, you'll be able to see it really well. So I feel like what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the sentiment on the outside. And I think I might die cut this with something. But I think I'm going to do it in navy so it stands out really well. I thought another funny thing to do with this, if you wanted to leave the cocoa one out, is to say it's all fun and games until Santa checks the naughty list, because it's kind of funny, like you were so naughty you melted, but that could just be me and my humor. All right, so we're going to do the sadly sentiment. Let me just grab a block, and we're going to do this in Night of Navy. You could even do it in a different thing altogether. You could do it in gold. Embossing would be really cute. And let me see, are there any really tiny? You could even stamp one of these little cocos here. Let's see if we could fit that. Actually, you know what would be even better? Let's do this. I have this cocoa, and I didn't mount this yet, so forgive me. We're going to stamp this little teeny one here. I'm going to do it in navy again. So it doesn't really matter if I overlap, because I'm going to trim it. Stamp that. Okay. And this will kind of just be like the final touch. You could even add a cocoa, like a cup to the inside, or a little steam or something to the inside there. But let me not get too crazy. Take this to the next level. I'm going to take this cup first, and I'm going to trim it out. It's pretty full of straight lines, so honestly you're not really too difficult to fussy cut this one. And I'm not being particularly specific with my cutting. Okay, so we have that, and then I'm going to die cut this out with something. I think I'm going to do a circle just to stay a little bit consistent. I'm going to take my balmy blue marker and just color in the little, I don't know what you think they call those cozies on your cup. Your do not burn your hand area. I'll do that. And maybe a little bit of Seaside spray up here on our lid, just for something different. All right, so there's that. And why not add just a little wink of Stella to the cozy part too, because it's just cute. And you can even take your wink of Stella and bring in a little bit of the navy from the side. That way your coffee cup won't be super duper flat, or your cocoa cup, whichever it is. All right, so I'm going to do one last one. I'm going to cut this with, let's see, which one's big enough. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to cut it with a scalloped circle just to give it like a little teeny bit of different visual interest. So I'm going to run this through the die cut machine. And we're almost finished. Okay, that, and I'm going to take my balmy blue brush tip end and just go around. I don't know why I like to do this. I feel like it makes it stand out a little bit more from the card. Maybe it would have been better to do it in navy, but it's good enough. And I'm going to grab a dimensional, and let's see if this is two. Nope, it should fit perfectly. I'm going to grab one dimensional and put it on the back of here. Oops. Just like that. And I'm going to pop this whole thing up with dimensionals as well. And then all I have to do is glue our inside. Okay. Move these out of the way. And then I want to add something to the inside because I feel like the inside layer of this just needs like a little something to make the, even like a little row of coffee cups over here would be kind of cute. But I went and dirtied this up. Hold on one second. Let's see if I can wipe this off. Yeah, here's what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my tape because I have a lot of it left here. And I'm going to mask off everything but the little heart. Just like that. So I'm trying to make sure, I want to make sure that this is in, it's not cutting off any of that, just to bring this together. Okay, looks good. And I think I'm going to stick with the same. I'm going to do navy. So I'm going to ink this up. Trying to make sure I got the whole thing. Peel these off. These have to go into the trash. Trying to fold them on each other so I don't make a mess. And stamp that at the bottom. I'm going to give this just a second to dry. In the meantime, I'll put some glue down. And Magenta Madness, because that's a nice bright pink. Fill in my heart. Little seaside spray. We'll fill in the cup. Okay, I think that looks good. So just fill that one in by masking. I'm going to make sure this is pressed down. I didn't want to press it too much since it was freshly stamped. So there you go. You have your little Frosty spilled. Sadly, the first was his last. Hold on, we're clicking. Here we go. Isn't that super fun? And I think just these little additions of the coffee cup stuff makes it much more fun too, because this was really fun to add press on. I really like that stamp set. That's the actual first time I've used it, as you can see from the mounting. So when I'm finished, I think I'm going to do just a mounting video to show you how to finish up the rest of the stamp mounting. And then the inside, we have our little coffee cup there, which you could make even a little squiggle steam up if you wanted to. But lots of room to write your message. The only thing is you're going to want to make sure on the inside that you kind of avoid this area, so you have a nice spot for your little peek through window sheet to show through. And again, we put this piece here just to cover up the window sheet. I probably could have trimmed this down a little better, but you know, for a wing it card that I just thought of several minutes ago, because I know somebody really wanted to see this, I think this turned out really, really cute. So again, we used Don't Stop Believin', that was the melty Frosty, and then we also used Press On to make this super fun card. I want to thank you guys so very much once again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video. You would like to see how to pop out trim. Okay, you know what? How about that? I'm going to do a video when I'm finished, and I'm actually probably going to have to do it from my phone because my other camera battery is getting ready to die. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do how to mount your stamps and how to change your trimmer blade. So I'll make that a combo video. That way maybe it'll be 2 for 1. I will make sure that I title it that, so it'll just say like Stampin' 101, how to mount stamps and how to change your trimmer and scoring blades. I know we don't have new scoring blades, but you could also figure out how you could change them around if you don't like the way they're oriented. So I will do that for both. And I believe Jean, you're the one who said that you wanted to see the Frosty. So hopefully you liked this card and it was really fun. If you guys would like to get any of these supplies that you may not already have, you can shop in my online store 24/7. That's rachthestamper.stampinup.net. You don't have to have a mask. You can just come and go as you please. Lots of great stuff there. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my blog, which is rachthestamper.com. I always post my videos and the measurements for the cards and everything there after I'm finished. So if for some reason you ever miss something, you can always follow along over there. And otherwise, I will see you guys again Thursday evening, probably at 5:30. So Thursday, 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. We'll share something new. If you have an idea that you would like to see made, make sure you send me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com. I would love to make a card that you would like to see. I think this is really fun. And actually, I may end up doing another one like this, just with this maybe stamped on something in case you don't like to do the die cut. I think it'll be really cute the other way as well. So thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure you check out that other video. If you haven't already, you can subscribe to me on YouTube. You hit the subscribe button. Make sure you turn on the bell for notifications, and that way it'll tell you every time either I put a new video on or I'm live. Thank you guys so very much. I truly appreciate all of your following, help, comments, and suggestions. I'll see you real soon.